Coming up next on Arizona Horizons Journalists Roundtable, a federal judge rules that Arizona can require voters to prove citizenship when registering with a federal form. The Senate approves a budget. We'll see how it compares with the governor's ideas. And we'll look at more ill-fated attempts to undermine the state's new education standards. The Journalists Roundtable is next on Arizona Horizon.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of Eight, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to Arizona Horizon's Journalists Roundtable. I'm Ted Simons. Joining us tonight, Luigi Del Puerto of the Arizona Capital Times, Howard Fisher of Capital Media Services, and Steve Goldstein of KJZZ Radio. A federal judge rules on Arizona's attempts to have federal voter registration requirements conform with Arizona's requirements. And apparently, Luigi, the judge said, okay.
The judge said, okay. The judge ruled that because Congress has not preempted the state to pass tougher requirements in order to get to be eligible to vote, then therefore Arizona and Kansas may require that those who want to register prove that they are citizens of this country.
And it gets even more complicated than that, because certainly, the state is free as far as state elections to decide who can vote. The question comes down now to federal elections, and particularly the fact that Congress said, well, the state can have its own form, and if you want to use the state form, yeah, you want to require blood type and mother's maiden name, that's fine. But Congress directed the Elections Assistance Commission to come up with a uniform federal form to make it easier. The Elections Assistance Commission said, how about just a simple avowal? I am eligible to vote under penalty of perjury, and no proof of citizenship. And the Supreme Court, it all went all the way to the Supreme Court last year, and they said, no, Arizona can't add it, but you can petition the Election Assistance Commission. There is nobody on the commission, so the acting executive director said, no, you don't need it. And they went back to this federal judge.
They went back to this federal judge, not in the Ninth Circuit, though,
no,
by design, I would think.
As you discussed with Paul Bender last night,
Yes.
That is a court that tends to lean a little bit left on these issues, and many issues, at least how it's perceived. So they went with Kansas. Again, Kansas and Arizona making fun bedfellows after Chris Kobach and Russell Pierce decided to do that. So a judge, Eric Melgren in Kansas, went ahead, could be appealed to the 10th Circuit. I don't know much about the 10th Circuit. It's in Colorado, but I'm not sure what sort of way they lean. One interesting thing to me, Ted, I think because it's an election year, again, are we going to see the voter fraud versus voter suppression groups, in essence, sort of getting people amped up? Is this another possibility for that when there's not necessarily that much smoke where there's fire?
Well, what's interesting is very few people actually use the federal form, but a lot of the voter registration groups like it because of the fact that you don't have to be carrying around documentation. Now, in Arizona, it's true, if you have a driver's license issued after '96, that is proof of citizenship. But if you don't happen to have a driver's license, what do we talk about? We're talking about birth certificate, we're talking about passport, things like that. And it makes registration much harder, which is why the groups like the federal form and like the fact the federal form doesn't have that proof of citizenship requirement.
In any case, it seems clear that this issue will go back before the Supreme Court again. Sam Warsinski already indicated that they will appeal this decision. So this will play out before the U.S. Supreme Court, and presumably at that point, it will be clear to us exactly what we can or we can't do.
And until that happens, I mean, we have a two-tier system all ready to go.
Right.
And granted, you would think that the two-tier system is gone now with this rule. No, it's not gone because it's likely appealed, likely stayed on appeal. How far do we go on this?
Well, we may have to go. We look forward ahead to when the ballots need to be done. We could be in a real confusing situation. And I know Ken Bennett says he's going to go ahead with this. I think in order to send people a message, because this is the way the law has to go. He's thrilled by this ruling. He doesn't want to go ahead with this. Yeah. Dual track it's a very bad idea, and we can end up with tough situations.
And the funny part is we're spending thousands of dollars. There are fewer than 1,000 people. I mean, even some of the people who use the federal form did, in fact, eventually turn in some proof of citizenship. So we're now talking about running a whole parallel registration system for fewer than 1,000 people because of the fact that the state says, no, we want that requirement.
And as Paul Bender again said last night, you're going to be in a situation where we know which people are going to be affected by this. These are people who, mostly low-income folks, many people who live in this country who are legal citizens, and yet it's hard to get a birth certificate. Perhaps they don't have the basic money. Even to get to the polls, we're really running into a situation, it could end up turning into voter suppression.
Out-of-state college students as
Exactly,
well. For the record, Arizona Republic did some research on this. They found 34 cases since 2005. Only 2 of those cases involved people in the country illegally. The others, not citizens, but they were legal residents, and they thought they could vote because they had been here for decades, and they thought as permanent residents they would be able to vote. So how much of a...
You're trying to prove, who was it talked about, our known knowns and unknown knowns? That becomes the real issue. Depending on who you talk to, occasionally you'll get, what'll happen is they'll send out a jury questionnaire. And somebody will say, well, I don't have to be on a jury, I'm not a citizen. Well, why are you registered to vote? But sometimes there's that confusion about legal citizens versus permanent legal residents. But you've also got the question of that there's a finding that there is some. I mean, Judge Rosalind Silver, when she first upheld the requirement, said there is some. Nobody has found anything rampant. The Election Assistance Commission said it was like 0.0003%.
Well, but the Attorney General says you, Howie, and the rest of the media, I'm not including myself on this one, the rest of the media is hiding this issue. You're hiding it, Howie.
Oh, this is fantastic. I talked to Tom Horn. He insists there's a media cover-up on this. What media cover-up? We've looked at the numbers. We've looked at the numbers from the court. He even misquoted Judge Silver. He said the judge said that there's massive voter fraud. No, I read Judge Silver's opinion. That's not what she said.
What are you covering up, Steve?
I'm not meaning to cover anything up, Ted. I think the issue, though, is folks who are rampantly passionate about this issue, and those who are really not in it for political reasons. I know it's hard to find people like that, but those that aren't really feel like one violation is one too many.
Yes.
And we're never going to find 100% perfection in anything we do.
All right, we will watch this case and see how far it goes. Until then, I think we still have a 2-tier system where when it stays, it's on appeal or stay. Okay, we got a budget. We got all sorts of budget stuff going on out there.
All sorts.
Give us an update. What Senate okays a budget? What heads to the House next week? Is that the plan here?
Correct. So the Senate this week, the Senate leadership this week offered a budget that was markedly different than the governor's proposal. And then in the middle of the week, Andy Biggs said, well, I got some sort of an agreement with the governor's office, and he offered a whole lot of amendments that moved his budget closer, if you will, to the governor's proposal. And they passed that budget. That sort of came sort of out of the blue, if you will, because Democrats until that point were expecting that this would be one of those budgets that would get out of the Senate, but then at some point they will have to negotiate with the governor. Well, Andy Biggs, according to him, had gotten some sort of a green light from the governor's office. Maybe. And so now we have a budget out of the Senate. It's now in the House's. It's now in the House, and the plan in the House is they will vote it out either Monday or Tuesday.
Does the House already know everything about? I mean, this negotiations. Are we talking about folks that were behind closed doors, and this is all pretty much a done deal, or what's happening?
As far as the legislature goes, or the Republicans in the legislature goes, I mean, the Democrats are sort of whining in the wings there, but this is one of those things that came down from on high. I mean, I'm of the point where you used to build budgets from the bottom up, and you'd have hearings and everything else. The public would get to come in and talk about the needs. Well, this was something, like you say, negotiated, if not in the dark of night, certainly behind a few closed doors. And now the House is going to look at it. I talked to John Kavanaugh today, who's the House Appropriations Chairman. He said, yeah, we're pretty much bought off on what the Senate has done. We want to do a few tweaks of our own. It's the nature of lawmakers. Now, the question of the governor, which is why Luigi and I were sort of smiling at each other, is while Andy Biggs said, I've talked to the governor. I'm very confident she's going to sign this. Scott Smith, who's the governor's chief of staff, says, well, not so fast.
I believe the quote is very significant issues still need to be addressed.
Yes. Well,
and that's something that governor's spokesperson also said. Well, it's not exactly that they have a deal here, but Andy Biggs, you remember what he said? He said, well, I don't know who Andrew Wilder is, and I don't care what he says.
Yeah. Now, the interesting thing is we know there are going to be changes. Look, she is never going to accept a budget that does not add even more people to the Child Welfare Agency. We know that's an issue. We have a 10,000 case backlog, and that's even before the 6,500 that they've had to fix. So we know there are going to be more folks there. There's some nickel and dime stuff. There's the underlying question: do we create a whole independent agency out of this new Child Welfare Agency? And there's again a lot of nickel and dime stuff.
From the political standpoint, Ted, I'm intrigued by the fact that I've always thought, especially when we talk about eliminating Medicaid, the way that he got rolled during the last session, I always thought Andy Biggs had a political tin ear, frankly. And the fact that he sort of maneuvered a little bit in terms of CPS, in terms of the Common Core, moving a little bit, but then when he starts to say, oh yeah, the governor and I have an agreement, then I'm starting to think, okay, he's still not really in reality yet.
Well, and that's hard to say, because the fact is that it is close. I mean, even the original budget, and while it was maybe close to $300 million between the governor and he, you're talking 9.1 versus 9.4 billion. That's not a lot in the cosmic scheme of things, and 50 million of that is rainy day fund. Some of that is funding for Common Core implementation, things like that.
And the key to me that Andy Biggs has really moved a whole lot is this whole issue about Common Core. I mean, initially in his budget, he didn't provide any additional funding for a test that's aligned to these new standards.
Zero.
But then in this new one, he added $8 million, which is closer to what the governor is seeking, which is $13.5 million.
And that's fair and true, but then he's running into those same moderate Republicans again, and maybe he finally figured out, I'm not going to get this past them, so I might as well give this to the governor at some point, and then it's on the governor to decide whether we're going to have these standards or not.
Well, it's on the governor to figure out if that's enough money for the Common Core assessment.
Well, but part of the problem is it's the same. There's a couple of issues where Andy Biggs has a point. We haven't even awarded and figured which test we're going to use. He said, so how do we determine it's 13.5 or 8 or 5.3? The same question in terms of what's the one-time cost of taking the old Child Protective Services and creating an independent agency? The governor said it was 25. He put in 5 and came up to 20. Again, these are the unknowns here that he said, look, we can fix them later.
You're dropping a lot of Donald Rumsfelds on us.
Yes.
Tonight. Watch that. And now, as far as the House is concerned, it sounds to me like some talking's already been done and there shouldn't be too much trouble in the House. Is that the impression you have?
Yes, that's the impression that we're getting, that in the main, the House is in agreement with the Senate insofar as this budget. I think what they're going to do is go to the floor on Monday. I think that's the plan, to get them out Monday or Tuesday, but then there will be some tweaks. But and so far as the main feed bill, that's the main appropriations bill, the signals that we're hearing from the House that they are in agreement with the Senate.
At what point, though, did Chad Campbell and the Democrats ever get any satisfaction? We all talked to Chad a lot. We talked to him before the session started, of course. Yeah, the Democrats going to be involved this time.
Well, but they're never involved, except for when they needed the votes on the whole Medicaid expansion. They cut a deal with the moderate Republicans and the governor. But there is money in there, and some of it is due to the governor, for some of the things they do want. Now, is it all they want? No. They still have a 6,600 person waiting list for child care subsidies. But there is more money in there for child care. There is some more education money in there. There's more community college money in there. So are they going to get what they want? No. Are we going to see 30 or 40 Democratic amendments whining for, excuse the expression, for what they want? Yeah. But there is some stuff there that helps the Democrats' cause.
Before we go, this business of just a few people involved in crafting a budget, how much is a Republican rank and file even involved here? And are they a little grumbly about this? Or are they just saying, okay, go ahead?
Well, I think they don't like being brought in at the end, but one of the things they do is they have what they call these small group meetings to get around open meeting law issues. And they make sure they say, look, here's what we're going to do. Do you have a real heartburn with this? Can we count on your vote? They've got the little laundry list there. Now, if somebody needs something, they may have to make some tweaks. But the way they bought votes in the past, and this is historic, is, well, we got another bill out here. We can help you with your bill, or maybe we can kill your bill if you don't want to go along. So understand that.
The fact is that it's been a couple of years that we've seen a budget that's really come from the bottom up. In the last few years, this budget, we would have appropriations hearings, but those are mostly for show. And even in those hearings, we've had the public speak less and less, because everybody knows that, and at the end of the day, it's the Speaker, the Senate President, the Governor that decide what the budget will be.
Most lawmakers are hardworking people, but I think the public saw with what happened with SB 1062, whether that was blown out of proportion by national media or not, the fact is a lot of lawmakers admitted, I don't know if I really read the whole thing.
Yes.
And when it comes to a budget, is it just going to be rubber stamp party based? And a lot of people are going to perceive it that way, whether it's true or not.
Individuals have their own priorities. You talk to Kate Brophy-McGee, and obviously Child Protective Services, or what the new agency is called, is a priority. You have Andy Tobin, who says, I want to restore some of the highway revenue money. So some of those things are in there. But but they get added piece by piece. But essentially, it's up to leadership to cobble something together that can get 16 votes in the Senate and 31 in the House.
And politically, this is a choice before the Republican leadership in both the Senate and in the House. They can either negotiate a budget with the governor, bring it closer to where she could sign it, or they could let a small number of Republicans and Democrats craft that budget for them. And I think Andy Biggs decided that he's going to go with the first route.
All right, we talked about Common Core. It sounds as if we had yet more attempts to kill or undermine or somehow affect Common Core. And again, these things keep getting voted down.
Well, and I hate to make another 1062 reference, but Al Melvin is so involved in Common Core, and we look about how bad he looked on Anderson Cooper with 1062. Ted, I want to refer a little bit macro here. Talk to a conservative analyst who very much involved in education, who says he's tired of this issue being politicized. He says it comes down to the fact that he thinks we need these standards, and a lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives just don't like the Obama administration telling them which way to go. A lot of these same folks didn't like No Child Left Behind with the Bush administration either. They want local control, whatever that really means, and some of this comes down to that. We can change the name of Common Core, we can do whatever. It really comes down to, I think, based on what I'm hearing from most folks, just don't tell us what to do, especially the feds. Get out of our pocketbooks.
And there's a fourth bill out there as well. I mean,
yes,
there's still stuff to be shot down, isn't there?
There's a bill that got out of the House, and technically it doesn't abolish Common Core, but it basically says schools can kind of choose their own standards, and they've cloaked it in some student privacy thing. Look, this will also get to the Senate floor, and I think meet the same vote as the other three, which is while you can get it out of committee, there are enough moderate Republicans say, look, we got burned on 1062. And the parallel is the business community. The business community wants these standards. They have said, they have testified, if we don't have Common Core and we can't be sure our high school grads are qualified, we're not going to hire them.
And the conservative wing of the Republican caucus clearly sees that reality in the fact that they had voted, in the Senate at least, they had voted for a budget that included money for testing that presumably will be aligned with Common Core. I spoke with Al Melvin this morning. I said, hey, why did you vote for this bill? You're against Common Core. And he said, well, when the time comes when I'm governor, we're going to have a different outcome. But until then, he said that there are some things that they would have to do that they don't like, and this is one of them.
And I'm looking forward to the gubernatorial interviews that you do when Al Melvin is sitting in that chair.
Oh, I am too.
Yes,
I am too. Speaking of which, actually not speaking about that at all. We're talking about something different here, but it does involve education. Arizona Supreme Court's looked at the don't call it a voucher system and said, that's fine. Actually didn't say anything, upheld the lower court ruling.
And this is very significant. This started off as a very small program in 2011 to say that for students with special needs, if you can't get the education you need in the public schools, we will give you a voucher-like account, an empowerment scholarship account, good for about 90% of what the state aid would be. And you can take it homeschooling, private schooling, parochial schools, whatever. Then it got expanded to any student attending a school in a D or F rated district. And while there's a cap on year-to-year enrollment, that's potentially 200,000 kids. Well, the bill awaiting the House vote says if you go to a school that's a Title I school, which means half the kids there are low income, then you also could get a, quote, voucher. And now we're talking 800,000 potentially once the caps are off. The argument had been you've got two constitutional provisions, one that says you can't have aid to private and parochial schools, the other says you can't use state money in support of religious instruction. And what the Court of Appeals said that the Supreme Court upheld today is this isn't the issue. The issue is you are benefiting the students. The state isn't controlling where the money goes. The state isn't giving money to Brophy or wherever. You're giving money to the parents who are making the decision, and therefore it's legal.
Benefits the families as opposed to the schools.
Right, and the court said that the money that they're getting from the state may or may not go to a private school or a religious school. And that's a key, to the court, that's a key matter, that this money is up to the parents to decide where they would want to spend it. But, you talked about the bill that's before the House now and the Senate. By the way, there are identical bills in the House and the Senate that would do the same thing. Those are stuck. They haven't been debated yet, and they haven't had a full vote yet. Representative Debbie Lesko, one of the sponsors of the bill, told me that she thinks this ruling would help that bill get out of the House and presumably get out of the chamber, legislature.
When you have a superintendent like John Huppenthal who's so pro-data, a lot of Democrats are saying, can you give us a little bit more evidence? They may not like this anyway, but at least they're saying, can you give us some proof that it really is benefiting families in a sense of that the education their kids are getting is better, so we should go this direction. You know, there is the comment of someone like Andrew Morrill from the AEA. In essence, he doesn't want the suppression of, they're afraid public schools are going to be suppressed by this. But they're also saying, if you give us some evidence, we're pro-kids, we're pro-students.
And that's really the key. The Democrats keep trying to attach amendments saying, look, if you're getting $5,500, $6,000, $6,500 worth of public funds, maybe you should have to take that standardized test. Now, the counter argument is, well, but parents know if their kids are being educated. Well, in some cases, I think that's true, but I think in some cases, for the parents, it's just, I don't want my kids going to school where they teach them that the earth is older than 6,500 years. So you've got a lot of issues there in terms of what do the parents think, and is it a wise use of state money?
And we should mention those caps in the Lesko bill, those caps and that ceiling, that's all gone, I believe, in
2020.
Is it 2019 or 2020?
Well, after 2019 and 2020, right now it's 0.5% per year.
Like
that
5,000 kids or something
Yeah,
like that, but that goes away in 5 years.
And theoretically, using today's number, that's 800,000 kids out of 1.1 million who would qualify for these state-paid
very
codes,
interesting.
vouchers.
Yes, very. Yep. One more
Yeah,
thing?
just keep in mind though that right now it's only attracting a very small number of students and families. It's about 700 kids that are in this program right now, and that's why you have John Huppenthal making that robocall.
Well, and
because they wanted people to know about this program, but so far it's not a whole lot. We haven't even reached that cap, that annual cap that we have for enrollment. We're not even anywhere near that yet.
And that's what some say is the impetus behind the Lesko bill, is that there aren't the number of people signing up that they thought, so let's go ahead and expand it.
Absolutely. I think you said it well. Yeah.
All right, well, then we'll move on. Thank you. Howie, your Tesla that you have on order,
Yes.
will you have to go somewhere else to pick it up, or can you buy it right here in Arizona?
Well, you can if you happen to have a computer, and you could order it online, much in the same way you'd go to Amazon. Hi, I'd like a car. Arizona auto dealers pushed through a measure in 2000 that says you can only sell a car in Arizona through a dealership. So you want to buy a Ford, Ford cannot set up and sell directly to me. Ford can't have its own company-run dealership. It has to be an independent dealership. And the dealer said, well, that's protecting us and protecting the public. That's not Tesla's business model. I mean, Elon Musk, who's the company owner, said, we want to market directly to consumers. We have a specialty vehicle here. And so they've had a showroom. You can go up to Scottsdale Fashion Square, you can look at the car, you can kick the tires, you can get behind the wheel, you can open the hood. You just can't buy it there.
Right.
You got to go to California or order it online. There's a bill that's got through a committee that says, no, we're going to create an exception for Tesla. The auto dealers have just come unglued, as have the manufacturers who are worried, well, wait a second, why should they get an exception?
Well, and where's the Goldwater Institute on something like this? This just sounds an awful lot like an exemption that would be unconstitutional.
It's possible they may chime in on this. It does sound that way because, in essence, this is an incentive because Arizona is going against New Mexico, Nevada, and Texas to get this enormous battery plant from Tesla. And of course, I talked to a bunch of brand experts this week. This is all about a hot brand. This is why Arizona wanted Google, wanted Apple to take over that Mesa plant, because it's going to make Arizona look hot and happening. Even if Tesla cars can't be afforded by most, it's about getting that brand name, and Arizona lawmakers are buying into it.
It does make the state very attractive. And of course, some lawmakers are saying this has nothing to do with attracting that gigafactory, if you will. But this is happening now as we are courting Tesla to move to the state. And it does make us a little bit more attractive, perhaps, when we are also saying, hey, by the way, you have that plant here. Well, you can sell to anybody. You don't have to have,
Now here's the fascinating question, though, and this goes back to the 2000 law. The dealers say they need protection. Look, if you are stupid enough to invest a couple of $1 million in setting up a dealership, and you don't get a contract that says Ford or Chevy isn't going to come here and compete with you, that's your fault. Why should the state be involved in what essentially is a restraint of trade?
Well, but real quickly, what Tesla says is it's a conflict of interest if you're selling gasoline vehicles and you're also trying to sell mine because you want to sell the gasoline vehicles more than mine. That's not fair. The dealerships are saying, well, wait a second.
But they are selling Nissan Leaf. They are selling
yeah,
electric
but he's
vehicles.
saying it's a conflict of interest because they're not selling it as they would if they were dealers only for electric vehicles.
This fight is really about community investment. The dealers are saying, hey, listen, we've actually been here. We've got the brick and mortar. We're doing more of that. And Tesla is basically saying, let's be honest, whatever they want, because they know they're hot.
And again, we should mention the exemption provides only for automakers that make electric cars only.
Only electric cars. But what
That sounds like Tesla.
But this is the same thing that was going on in the economy. Amazon, people buying from Amazon, they're not buying from the brick and mortars. The economy is changing, and it's about time the state laws caught up with
Well,
it.
just give us a test drive, Howie, when you get your Tesla.
I will.
Everything will be fine. Thank you, gentlemen. Monday on Arizona Horizon, we will visit with Phoenix Mayor Greg Stanton and focus on the finer points of his recently delivered State of the City address. And we'll see how a massive pipe organ found its way to a local restaurant. That's Monday evening, 5:30 and 10 on the next Arizona Horizon. That is it for now. I'm Ted Simons. Thank you so much for joining us. You have a great weekend.
Arizona Horizon is made possible by contributions from the Friends of 8, members of your Arizona PBS station. Thank you.